Welcome to Dino Park Media. My name is Samuel, and today I also have with me my other partner in crime with Dino Park Media, Matt Hewell. Matt, why don't you go ahead and say hello?
Hey, Jurassic fans. It's a wonderful day to be a Jurassic Park fan. In fact, every day is a wonderful day to be a Jurassic Park fan. But today we have a very special topic, don't we?
We do, in fact, have a very fun and interesting topic. And today's topic is actually what is the best Jurassic sequel? And notice I say Jurassic kind of ambiguously, because it's not just specifically Jurassic Park. It's also including Jurassic World, right? right. Yeah. And this whole topic was actually based out of a conversation that you started in one of the chat rooms that we're both involved in. And
shout out to Chaos Chat.
Right, yeah, shout out to those guys. And you said that it's most widely accepted that people usually say that The Lost World and Jurassic World are the two most favored sequels when it comes to Jurassic franchise. Now, people that might be listening are going like, no, my favorite's Jurassic Park 3, or my favorite is Fallen Kingdom. Listen. We're not discounting what you say or what your favorite is, right? Like if your favorite movie, your favorite Jurassic sequel is Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, more power to you. It's just the idea that by and large, most people that we see on social media, on YouTube, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, and Jurassic World are the two most common favorite Jurassic Park sequels. Isn't that right there, Matt?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, especially in recent history, I feel like The Lost World went from a mixed review to, I would say, on Jurassic World's level of quality. At least in today's, cinema, I feel like if Lost World came out today, I feel like it would be reviewed a lot better, for sure.
Absolutely. And The Lost World definitely went 0 to hero. I think definitely thanks to Clayton Fioriti being on the scene since 2018. But with that being said, though, too, going into today's topic, we wanted to come from it from two different perspectives. And during the chat that we had, Matt, you actually made it very clear The Lost World Jurassic Park is your favorite Jurassic Park sequel. Isn't that right?
Oh my gosh, I love it. For real, I've watched it like back when Jurassic World 1 was coming out. I think I watch it every single day. I don't know every single day, but my brother can probably tell me from like late 14, maybe like half a year until Jurassic World came out, just because that was my favorite. I had all the toys, I had all the merchandise, and I had remember those things, those like goggle things, is like you can flip the thing on the side and you can see like a little slideshow of something.
Oh yeah. A Viewmaster.
A Viewmaster, yeah, exactly. Yeah. We're dating ourselves, but it's so good. It was so like, I just think of my grandmother's house in Santa Barbara. And I'm just like, yeah, this is it. You know what I mean? Like, just everything, my whole childhood, I just think of it. And all the toys, the puppets, the T-Rex and Velociraptor puppets.
Right.
Oh, love it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that The Lost World is an amazing movie. And it's so cool to hear how much you enjoy that film. But then also, like, when you brought that up, you brought up the conversation of which one's the best Jurassic sequel, and then you were immediately jump into why The Lost World was. But then for me, and some people might want to fight me in the comments, but I think Jurassic World 2015 is actually a better sequel. Now, I should say this. It's my personal favorite sequel. Now, we are going to be going into this topic in this video, breaking down which video or which movie out of these two is actually the better sequel by actually going over 3 distinct points. And we're going to break it down point by point. Number 1, we're going to go through plot. Number 2, we're going to go through cinematography and action. And then number 3, we're going to go through the overall quote unquote Jurassic feel and how much it actually really represents the brand according to Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, and the franchise. Now, obviously, if it hasn't been made clear yet, Matt's going to be coming from the perspective of The Lost World Jurassic Park is the best Jurassic sequel, and I'll be coming from the Jurassic World 2015 movie is the best Jurassic sequel. And with that being said, Matt, are you ready to get this conversation going?
Absolutely. I just want to say I love Jurassic World as well. Like, I think it's a very underrated film. I think it's a great movie. I really do. But, Lost World I'm going with 100%.
And it makes sense, yeah, because like you're a huge Lost World fan, and we're definitely gonna be able to pick that up here in the conversation. And so we'll just go ahead and jump straight into number one. When it comes to deciding what the best Jurassic sequel is, we're gonna start off with which of these two movies has the best plot. And so, Matt, we'll start with you. Why do you think that the Lost World Jurassic Park has a better plot out of the Jurassic sequels?
Well, you know what? To compare this to another franchise, to compare it to a Marvel movie in Captain America Civil War, you know how there was a divide between the heroes? I feel like there's a divide between InGen, right? You have Hammond's team and you have Ludlow's team. And you can almost see Ludlow's perspective and why there's a reason to collect these assets that are on Isla Sorna and display them for profit, because they've been bleeding through the throat for 4 years with all these lawsuits, as I said, and these deaths and payoffs, media payoffs. InGen's not in a good spot in '97. So they need to reestablish themselves, because these people have families, if you think about it, people that work at InGen. But then you see it from Malcolm's point of view and Hammond's, which I think is very, not only cool for the plot, but I actually think it's really interesting just as filmmaking, because Hammond and Malcolm aren't exactly best friends, but at the same time, Hammond knows by sending Malcolm there, it's a good call. Yes. And he even, gets Sarah involved to get him there. Yeah. But right? Yeah, he gets Sarah there to get Malcolm there, and then brings in a team of Eddie Carr and Nick Van Owen and such to be sort of the gatherers rather than the hunters, to document. And Malcolm is there forcefully, but as a filmmaking standpoint, as I was saying, I think that you get to see Malcolm's, his sarcastic nature and his sort of dark sarcastic nature and dark feel. And I think that's really fascinating. You see that throughout the whole film. It's a grisly film. It's very dark. And that's why I really enjoy it. So if you think about it, a lot of people complain about this, but I actually think it's really cool that the humans are really the bad guys. And they say in every movie, but they're really the good guys, quote unquote. The gatherers are the reason why the T-Rex, wasn't shot, the Doe Tyrannosaur, by Roland. So, that set up that butterfly effect where you see the buck T-Rex being hunted by Roland and tranked and then sent off to California. Right. So, I think it's a very fun film. That's for me, that's my argument, I guess. I just love that film, man.
I definitely have not seen it from that perspective. It's very interesting that you bring up the dichotomy of the two InGen teams. You have Hammond's team, and then you have the other team led by Roland Tembo. It's very interesting. Oh, I mean, which is ultimately actually Hammond's nephew's team.
Oh, Ludlow.
Yeah, that's actually sure. It's technically Ludlow's team, Hammond and Ludlow. So now you see Hammond being more of a person that's more for the environment. He's much more of an environmentalist now. That's
he's a born-again naturalist, right? Yes, like the quote the movie.
Yeah, and then you have Ludlow, which was probably the evolved version of what Hammond used to be, a huge capitalist who wants to exploit the dinosaurs for money. And all that is very interesting to see the dichotomy of that play out in this movie, because it honestly goes all the way through into the end, even into San Diego. You still see that dichotomy being played out all the way up until the T-Rex ends up getting his revenge on Ludlow, and then the baby ends up killing him. And so, it's a very interesting perspective to take in that. But so like for your plot, that's very interesting take. For me, when it comes to Jurassic World being what I would say is the best story, honestly, it's hard for me to defend the story in order for it to be the best, because Jurassic World is not as much of a retread as, say, Star Wars Episode 7 is to Episode 4, The Force Awakens compared to A New Hope. It's not as much of a retread as that. However, Colin Trevorrow was very careful to definitely play very similar story beats to the 1993 Jurassic Park in order to be able to garnish interest again from people that definitely fell off the wagon with maybe The Lost World, but specifically Jurassic Park 3. A lot of fans were like, this story just was kind of ridiculous. And then he wanted to kind of get back to the original 1993 feel. And so like, it makes perfect sense that he would be a lot of the similar story plots. However, one big thing that he did introduce was the Indominus Rex and hybridization of the genetics in dinosaurs. And I think that that's a very good thing to do. I think it's actually a very big story plot to make, the fact that science had perfected the dinosaurs. You know, back in 1993, scientists thought that they could not only make dinosaurs, but then control them. Well, eventually, you know, Jurassic World comes along, and we see in 2015, they've been controlling regular dinosaurs, quote unquote regular dinosaurs for a long time. For like 10 years, they've been controlling dinosaurs, but that's not enough for them. They still need to go further with their research, further with their experimentation. And so we get the Indominus Rex, this huge abomination, because of the fact that they are not, that they do not stay put. They need to continue to push boundaries. Specifically, Wu needs to continue to push boundaries. He feels like he has this desire and incessant need in order to be able to continue pushing the envelope on what science can do. And at some point, science goes too far. Like what Malcolm says back in 1993. You were so preoccupied with whether or not you could, you didn't stop to decide whether or not you should. And that is the issue that continues to get pushed forward in Jurassic World. So honestly, it's hard for me to say that the plot of Jurassic World is better than the plot of The Lost World Jurassic Park, because of the fact that The Lost World was much more unique of a story. However, I do think that the Jurassic World story was much more in line with Crichton's original ethos for the entirety of the Jurassic Park universe, which is that mankind continues to push envelopes that nature has been trying to, keep a lid on for so long. And so I think that Jurassic World definitely does that better with the Indominus Rex than The Lost World does with Ludlow trying to just get a bunch of dinosaurs to fill up his San Diego park. But that's up for discussion. We'll just leave that first point up to the people watching. If you're listening, go ahead and tell us what your thoughts are in the comments about that first one, which plot you think is better for either The Lost World, Jurassic Park, or Jurassic World. But then moving on to number two, though. Number two,
here we go.
This is a big deal here. This is where I think that Jurassic World shines, is the cinematography and the action.
Both beautiful.
Yeah, they
Absolutely.
are both wonderful. They definitely both have their distinct feels as well. But as far as point number two is cinematography and action, let's once again start off with you, Matt. Cinematography and action for The Lost World Jurassic Park. Go on ahead.
For sure. I want to give a fun fact, by the way, about Michael Crichton, what you were talking about, getting back to the feel of Jurassic World real quick. The blue aesthetic was actually in the novel. So that goes with Jurassic World. So I'm helping your case now, but yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But anyway, but the cinematography, correct, of Lost World. Well, the cinematography, first of all, Steven Spielberg. I could just say those two words, but it's much more than that. I feel like Steven Spielberg went out of his way not only to make this film darker, but darker aesthetically. And also, if you look at the sequences, like say the trailer scene and how that's shot. I mean, with Eddie Carr going from his Mercedes to the big old that big old trailer that they have. I feel like that whole scene is shot just in one piece, which is just amazing filmmaking and cinematography. It's a beautiful film to watch. It's definitely an acquired taste, but I do think it's very impressive. Like with the shots and the cuts. If you look at the compies in the beginning, attacking Kathy, the little girl, and then it transitions to Malcolm. Like it's sarcastic in its dark ways, but also shows that in the film with how it transitions so quickly, and it's savage. It's beautiful. And one of the things that I will say, are the shots of the film, because obviously you look at JP3 and its aesthetic with Sorna and Lost World and its aesthetic. I feel like Lost World has that much more of a less tropical and more of a California redwood look. And obviously that's where they film, but I think that itself, just watching Ian and Sarah walking and with the big trees after the stego scene, that alone is beautiful because you see the massive scale of how tiny these humans are and how big everything else is. So I have to give The Lost World an edge in cinematography just because of how grand it feels and how it still has that Spielberg magic. Maybe not as great as it was in the first film, but it still has that Steven Spielberg magic for sure.
And absolutely. I mean, the thing, and here I am now going to support your cause now. The Lost World here, The Lost World definitely has the Spielberg feel. And I think that when it comes to overall what is the best action scene between Jurassic World and the Lost World Jurassic Park, I think that TLWJP actually has the advantage here with that trailer scene that you mentioned. The trailer scene is one of the best action sequences in the entirety of the franchise, to be 100% honest.
Absolutely. It's Colin Trevorrow's favorite too, by the way.
Well, I did not know that. And see, and it's for good reason, because it was so expertly shot, and Steven Spielberg did a wonderful job with providing multiple camera angles, with providing camera angles that make you feel the emotions of the actors, specifically like the camera underneath the glass while it's cracking when Sarah's cool. On it. It's so cool. And then also having so many forms of tension, whereas like they're holding onto a rope that's like dangling there over the side of a cliff. They're like 100 feet up in the air or whatever, above rocks and a raging sea, above death. But then also you have Eddie Carr up in the other vehicle, the SUV, and he's trying to save him while also facing off against not facing off. I mean, he was basically just trying to avoid two tyrannosaurs, and so it's an amazing scene. However, now of course, here's the however. I think that when it comes to overall cinematography, and see the word cinematography is kind of hard for me to say because Steven Spielberg, he's awesome. But I think cinematography and action specifically, I think that Jurassic World has an edge with overall feel of action and tension. And here's why. Because when it comes to Jurassic World, when you look at the action and the cinematography, first of all, a lot of it happens during the day. All right. And here's why I think that's so important. Jurassic Park, the original movie, Steven Spielberg, once again, this is a Steven Spielberg film. The Lost World is just predominantly dark. They have a couple of moments in the day, but a lot of the action sequences happen during the night. And specifically when it comes to the Tyrannosaurs, when it comes to the Tyrannosaurus Rex, whether it be the buck and the doe on Sorna or the buck only in San Diego, either way, all these are all at night. All these action sequences are at night, and that is cool. But the thing about about JP93 is that he had a really good balance of both. The Tyrannosaurus is first introduced in the dark, so it makes it much more imposing. But then also he then reveals it later on in the Gallimimus area. When it's eating the Gallimimus, like to show like how large and imposing it is still in the light. And then finally you have that final scene where the Tyrannosaurus Rex breaks in and starts battling it out with the raptors at sunset. Love it. It's amazing in the visitor center because you have a well-lit action scene. And I think that's why Jurassic World has a lot of advantages, because it has both action scenes during the day and during the night. And day action scenes really provide this idea of whether or not something can really be scary, because if something is only scary at night and not during the day, then I think that your monster is lacking. But the Indominus Rex, it gets revealed in the day, which is actually very, very cool. Like when it's chasing Owen out of its enclosure and then it forces the gate open, immediately you realize its power and just how incredibly formidable of a force it is. And then later on, you also get to see it still doing stuff during the day, the whole aviary scene, but then it leads into the night sequences with that final standoff, which the Costa Rican standoff, which I know it's not technically Costa Rica. That's what it's called according to the soundtrack. The Costa Rican standoff, though, with the Tyrannosaurus Rex, the Indominus Rex, and Blue the Velociraptor, is one of the best. Just one of the best standoff sequences of all time. I mean, when it comes to the Jurassic franchise, it's one of the best standoff sequences of all time, and it's honestly just one of the most like goosebump moments of cinema as far as like modern cinema. Now, I also will say that there are lots more action sequences that are consistently good in Jurassic World compared to The Lost World. I do like the action sequences. I do like seeing all the vehicles running alongside the alongside the dinosaurs in the game trail scene. I like seeing the raptor scenes close to the end. However, the raptor scene was so short to me. You know, the raptors were also in a short way where the raptors were only in the last third of the movie in Jurassic Park, but they were mentioned and they were a formidable force alluded to all since the beginning. Whereas the raptors were only kind of like a side boss almost, if you want to see it as like a video game reference in The Lost World. Whereas the raptors, once again in Jurassic World 2015, there's that whole scene when they're supposed to be hunting down the Indominus, which a lot of people have issue with, and I understand, but I think it's cool. You know, them running through the jungle next to Owen cool. on a bike. It's so cool. But then they get to the end, and then they end up turning on the humans. That scene is a scene that people have been wanting to see for the longest time, ever since I think ever since The Lost World Jurassic Park, when there's a bunch of people that have guns and stuff like that, but they don't end up actually killing any of the raptors. I think people wanted to see it since then. But then also another missed opportunity in Jurassic Park 3, you see the whole the Navy and the Marines beaching on the beach at Isla Sorna. And they don't have any sort of standoff with raptors or anything like that. People wanted to see that. I remember as a kid, I wanted to see that. And this is something that was a huge payoff for fans that have been wanting to see that.
Even the pteranodons, you know, why didn't they attack the helicopters? Well,
yeah. And once again, we then finally got that in Jurassic World. The whole pteranodon sequence is amazing with the minigun on the chopper. Like, all these things are things that people have been begging to see for a long time. I say a lot, not everybody, a lot of people, but I think that's the reason that I believe that the action sequences are better in Jurassic World. And then the cinematography, Steven Spielberg is amazing. You know, like it's really hard to beat him.
It's hard to beat.
However, I really do like the sweeping camera from the Costa Rican standoff, where like the camera continues to sweep in order to keep its focus on the action while also being able to get different angles. And of course, it's just a CGI bloodbath is really what it is, but it's still fun, and it's a lot of fun for me, and I'm a sucker for it. So I'm going to go with Jurassic World being the best for cinematography and action. That's just my opinion, though. What do you think?
No, absolutely. And I feel like Lost World, it doesn't have the dinosaur battles that Jurassic World has. It has more of a slow burn to get. Yeah. That's why I feel like Jurassic World is more digestible to watch. Like it's more fun.
It's an action film.
Cases. Yeah, it's straight action. Where I think Lost World doesn't really care about, you know, like you said with the Velociraptors and, you know, in the first movie compared to the second. It's just more of suspense, and it doesn't matter about, they're not talking about a single dinosaur, you know, like an I-Rex or an Indoraptor or whatever, or even T-Rex, I guess, to a lesser extent. It's more of just the humans who find themselves in trouble in certain situations. So,
right.
But yeah, you know, it's kind of subjective at that point, really, between the two.
And to be 100% honest, all of this is subjective. This whole conversation we're having, but I think that we definitely wrapped up that point pretty well. And so that was number 2, cinematography and action. But number 3, though, and this is the last point we're going to go over today for this video, the overall quote unquote Jurassic feel. And what I mean by that is that when it comes to the Jurassic franchise, there are some things that people want to that come to expect when it comes to a Jurassic film. That was really set. This precedent was really set by Jurassic Park 1993, as well as Jurassic Park the novel written by Michael Crichton. which is the idea that not only do you have dinosaurs, because honestly, like the movie Dinosaur, from Disney, that has dinosaurs. Land Before Time, that has dinosaurs. What does this one stick out? Well, there's dinosaurs in the modern day, like facing off against humans. Yeah, that's a big deal, but dinosaurs got here because of genetic power, because of also human hubris, being able to think that humans can control this genetic power. That alongside dinosaurs, so important. So how do you feel that the Lost World Jurassic Park is actually better than Jurassic World in its overall Jurassic feel?
Well, I think it captures the same essence as Jurassic Park in the sense of it being about not messing with nature. Whereas in Jurassic World, I feel like it has elements to that with the Indominus, as you said, but I feel like it's more of just a straight action film. Whereas in Lost World, you learn, or the characters learn not to mess with nature, the good and the bad, in that sort of gray area. And in Jurassic Park, just to throw out an example, in the first film, with Nedry, who's being treated unfairly, he may be the bad guy, but he's still a guy. He's still a human. Doesn't deserve to die or anything. But you see his, financial problems, and at the end of the scene where he died, it's sad, but it also shows that through greed, this is what happens, right. Especially with nature. And then with Lost World, you see the same thing almost in reverse with the two Tyrannosauruses attacking Eddie Carr's car. And it was unfortunate. It was a bit more, that's why I prefer that scene over the Dilo scene, just because it was more, heartfelt, because it was Eddie Carr. And, but anyways, I do feel like Lost World captured that feeling of not messing with nature. And it was, in my opinion, the perfect follow-up, because it was original, as you said. It's something different. It's not a rehash. There's homages a little bit, but it really tries to separate itself from Jurassic Park, but still feels like Jurassic Park. And plus, you have, Jeff Goldblum. So
Jeff Goldblum.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Well, and Jeff Goldblum is definitely an amazing addition to the Lost World Jurassic Park that Jurassic World can't account for. Fallen Kingdom has him actually featured, but when it comes to the overall
he
feel,
couldn't save that movie.
right. But I think that you make some really good points there. But I have to disagree with you on that first point. You said that you feel like the Lost World Jurassic Park leans more into the idea of humans meddling with nature. I think that Jurassic World actually technically leans into that idea more than the Lost World Jurassic Park. Now, because of the fact that Jurassic World 2015 is its plot and story is so much in line with 1993's Jurassic Park, which that's all that 1993 is talking about. That's the whole focus of the film, is about man meddling in nature, and wrongfully doing so. And so I think that Jurassic World has a more overall Jurassic quote unquote feel, because of the idea that that is just so in line with the original idea of genetic power. The thing about the Lost World Jurassic Park is that they mention genetic power. They mention the fact that they created the dinosaurs, but the way that humanity is meddling with nature is the fact that they're going into a place where the animals already exist and they're trying to take them out. So basically, I feel like that's a story that could be swapped with, like, say, people going to Africa and taking zebras out of their natural habitat, taking a bunch of lions out of their natural habitat, taking a lot of elephants out of their natural habitat, and then taking them to zoos, back in New York or something like that. Right. Whereas with Jurassic World, it's so much more unique, because it's going back to the idea of only Jurassic World could create the Indominus Rex, according to the universe that they've created, and only Dr. Wu could be the person that takes us further into a dangerous place when it comes to creating genetic abominations. And so I think that definitely encompasses a lot of the Jurassic feel, as well as the idea that there's just, it's a theme park. The original Jurassic Park has a theme park, the idea of capitalizing off of the dinosaurs because of making them attractions. And I do understand that Ludlow's desire was to do that same thing with the San Diego park. And fortunately, we actually got to see the shell of the amphitheater park in the movie itself. Right. But we actually got to see the park up and running in Jurassic World, and they even had so many. Yeah. Right, and we get to see how the original feel of what Hammond's dream was be fleshed out in Jurassic World 2015. We get to see also a lot of the we don't get to have the original Jeeps. Well, we get to see the original Jeep, but we don't have the original like Jeeps as like a mainstay. Now we have like Mercedes-Benz SUVs trying to take over like the utility truck that the Jeep Wrangler used to be for 1993. And we also see different forms of transportation with monorail bringing everybody in and the boat bringing people in rather than the helicopter. There's different forms and different things that are different. A lot of things to really provide the idea of sense of awe and wonder. We also get to see the awe and wonder more in Jurassic World than the Lost World Jurassic Park. The awe and wonder moment happened briefly for a brief moment when they're looking at the stegosaurs in the beginning of the film, but then immediately even the stegosaurus turns around and the stegosaurs become violent towards the humans because of the idea that, which I think was actually a very good decision for that film, the idea that nature is very unfriendly to outsiders that are trying to come in and what they think could potentially harm their habitat. And so the idea that the Lost World Jurassic Park is more of the Jurassic feel than Jurassic World, I feel like is wrong, but I think a lot of people would argue with me in the comments about that because the idea that they feel like, but Jurassic World is much more corporate. It's blue and silver compared to the red and black and yellow colors of the original. and right. And so like, I get that. Totally get that. But I feel like the overarching idea of genetic power being something that humans have too much lack of respect for is something that is echoed in Jurassic World from not only 1993's JP that Steven Spielberg made, but even Michael Crichton's novel. And so that's my opinion. I feel like Jurassic World has much more of an overall Jurassic feel. Also, with the film going from the sense of awe to a sense of horror, hitting those same beats as 1993's Jurassic Park. But that's my opinion.
Absolutely. I think that Jurassic World was much more sciencey, if that makes sense, a lot like the first film. I think that the second film, as you said, was just kind of disrupting the ecosystem. So it's, as we keep saying, it's subjective, but I do feel like Lost World, it's definitely not like the first film. It's not, but I do think that some of the same themes maybe. That's the only thing I can argue. I think that you made a great point right there with Jurassic World being a closer, and similar to Jurassic Park than Lost World for sure.
Right, and that is the idea of like having the overall Jurassic feel, because like Jurassic World will always be closer to Jurassic Park 1993 because of the fact that its story beats are so similar to the original 1993 movie. However, as far as even the overall Jurassic feel of like the entire franchise, I do believe that even Jurassic World definitely hits that home in a very great way with the idea of being able to see dinosaurs not only in the sense of purely horror, but also seeing them as also gentle and wondrous animals as well. But with that all being said, though, like you said earlier, it's all subjective. And so we want to turn that back over before we end the video to you guys, the listeners. What do you think? What is your favorite Jurassic sequel out of the Lost World Jurassic Park or Jurassic World? Do you think that the Lost World Jurassic Park is the best sequel, or do you think that Jurassic World is the best sequel? Or are you part of the groups that believe that Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic Park 3 or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom are the best sequels? Go ahead, put your thoughts in the comments and tell us why you believe that, because we want to know what you have to say. But guys, that's what we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this video today. And Matt, do you have any final words for the listeners before we sign off here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think, just as far as letter grading. you know, Jurassic Park all the way down to Fallen Kingdom. I think that's a really cool way to kind of like look at it like, oh, okay, so you like this more than that because this gets a B minus, this gets an A plus, this gets an F, whatever the case might be. I'm really interested in hearing what you guys think about letter grading the films. I'd love to read comments like that. It's really fun for me. But as I always say, Jurassic fans are the best. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. We are a pretty great fandom. I do appreciate Jurassic Park, Jurassic World fans. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for joining us in the video today. We just want to say also, if you enjoy this content, we ask that you would please like this video and subscribe to our channel. We are on our way to 1,000 subscribers, and any person that wants to subscribe, we are so thankful for every single one of our subscribers. And also, with that being said, if you want to support this channel, we also have a Patreon now that is linked in the description. And if you want to have access to there's different tiers. If you want to have access to the audio for our videos before the videos actually come out on YouTube, that is something that is available there, as well as other unique and exclusive content that you can only get from Patreon. So go ahead and check us out there. But guys, thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to be doing some more videos in the future. Make sure you're watching out for those. But before we go, know you are loved.